This is PROpulsion, the podcast where we dive deep into the nitty-gritty of taking your business and your practice to the next level. Whether you are an entrepreneur, a franchisee, or a financial planning pro, you are in the right place. We're talking the latest tech, best practices, and expert insights, all while keeping it real and entertaining. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get ready to blast off. I'm your host, Rizanne Oosthuisen. Hello, Rizanne. I can't say welcome back. You've always been around. So, massive welcome to the main segment and looking forward to our conversation.
Great. Thank you, Francois. It's a privilege to be here. Hello, everybody. I hope you're going to enjoy the conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's an incredible thing. I remember when we met for the first time back in 2019, I walked away there thinking to myself, this woman is going to do big things. I think I told you that before. And it was very, very interesting for me to sort of witness your journey. And I think there's lots that people see. People tend to see the successes and the so-called growth and all of that good stuff. But there's a hell of a lot that happens in between and behind the scenes and all of that. So I hope that, we can chat a little bit about that today. And also just show that, sometimes some people can make it look easy, but it's not really always that easy. And there's lots to learn from that. So, Rizanne, let's start off with, as I said in the opening, you started this with nothing but an idea, if I've got my facts straight, by the way. So what inspired you to start ProfileMe and how did you even go about identifying that there's a need for this in financial services specifically? Because you could have gone to so many other industries, if you will.
Yeah, I must say in that sense, I was lucky. It was somebody from financial services that asked me a single question, which was their biggest, burning pain point. And that was, how do I get people to not cancel appointments on my advisors? And how do I get people to trust my advisors if they've not yet spoken to them or not yet met them? How can you do that trust thing without having had a physical interaction? So that really, was the question that really sparked it. And I've always been fascinated with how people would interact with digitally and with their phones, and, when they pick their phones up and when they pick it, put it down. And it's fascinating for me how people interact with brands in a digital and people in a digital sense. So at the time, I had just started my journey in digital and web. I think I had about 3 or 4 websites under the belt only at that time. But being a creative thinker and a natural problem solver, this question was burning in my mind, and it was a conundrum because not only do you need people to not cancel appointments, you need to build trust. You need the advisors to not go and build other things that is out of compliance that might whack you with a huge fine, all kinds of things. So it was like this massive conundrum, and it challenged me and it excited me, and I wanted to solve it. I went ahead and built my first prototype of ProfileMe on WordPress, and I went and showed it to a couple of 2 or 3 stakeholders, and they all said, "How soon can we have that?" And that's really what started ProfileMe. But in the biggest sense, just seeing that here's a tool that can make the distance between a professional, any professional or any business, to their client or to their consumer so much faster, so much stickier, and so much easier, frictionless. That really excited me. We might have been a couple of years too fast, but I think we're getting there now.
But that's also, like, for me, the interesting part, right? So because I said the other day as well, like, there's so many things I've done where I was just way too early. And then I sort of stopped doing it. And then somewhere down the line, now it becomes a thing. And I'm like, oh, why? I don't know why I stopped, because I think sometimes we think people don't get it, they don't understand it. Like it's all of those kinds of things. So, I mean, obviously, starting something like this that's brand new, because this was sort of new. Obviously, if this was a massive pain point, it means that there wasn't a solution around really, and specifically focused on what we do as financial advisors and financial planners. But I mean, they obviously, I mean, I was going to say they must have been, but I know that there was a lot of challenges that you had to go through, in getting this up and going, and a lot of changes along the way. So, are there any particular challenges that you could maybe share with us, Rizanne, that specifically in those early days? Because there's a lot of people at the moment saying like, should I start my own thing? Shouldn't I start my own thing? Should I join someone? Should I do it on my own? And I think there's value in there, just from starting your business and maybe hearing about some of those challenges and even maybe how you overcame some of them.
Yeah, and I think for financial advisors, a lot of it is more or less the same, because everybody's looking to differentiate themselves. And you have this big idea, but often the market is not ready for that. So for us, from our story, the market definitely wasn't ready for it. It's a product that didn't exist in the South African market, definitely. So first of all, you need a lot of education. And if you're a financial advisor and you're coming with a value proposition, or maybe you're going and you're niching, and I know people are very afraid of niching, and you shouldn't be, but maybe you've got a very specific proposition that you're putting out to market, and people just don't get it. And what I found in those early days is a lot of time was being spent on education, and there was also a lot of friction. There was also, I would say, a sense of resistance. And, those kind of things are draining. You find yourself trying to explain to people what it is and why they should have it. And, you find yourself educating and convincing more of the time than actually doing the business of what you're there to do. And as I said, it's very, very draining and very time consuming. And what I learned from that exercise is that focus on the people that get it. The people that don't get it is not your market. And I would say yet. We really needed early adopters then, and it was no point not focusing on the early adopters. So the people that got it was the people that we worked with and the people that we spent time with. The people that don't get it, you simply say, that's 100%. There's tons of other solutions for you out there. I mean, you shouldn't take offense. It's different strokes for different folks. So I think in those early days, it really helped just to focus on the people that got it. That is one tip that I would give advisors as well. If you're going into a niche, or if you're changing your value proposition, you don't have to go around convincing every person in the street that this is for them, because it isn't. Everybody isn't your client. You focus on the people that do get it, and you focus on those people and to explain it to people like them to get it. So that's the mechanism of brand ambassadors. So that quite helped. Of course, in the very early days, money was a constraint. There were significant challenges that I had overcome personally just before that. And I can honestly say that ProfileMe's early days was built on Marmite and toast. I think I was working about 3 different jobs or freelance projects at once, just to put food on the table, and the rest all went into ProfileMe. So that was a constraint then. So there was no money for marketing or a go-to-market budget, anything like that. But having said that, the thing is, the challenges in a startup never stops. For every level, there's a different devil. So it's an ongoing thing. So I really do see that as part of the journey of a startup. You are going to face a new challenge, whether it's scaling, whether it's staff, capacity, whatever it is. At every single point, there is going to be a challenge. And I think it's a matter of looking at it as a marathon and not a sprint. That is probably key.
I've never heard that expression before. For every level, there's another devil, or a new devil, or a different devil. That's I like that, which is very, very true. Also, I mean, I think at least in financial advice, when something goes wrong, it usually doesn't impact a lot of people at the same time. It's usually a particular client or maybe a family or something like that, but it doesn't necessarily impact your entire client base all at the same time. However, life tech is a little bit different. Life tech is quite quite hectic, trust me. I mean, what is it like, owning and managing life tech, Rizanne? And how do you handle the pressure that comes with that?
Francois, I will give an analogy, and I hope the audience can relate with it. Owning life tech is like having 20 children, and they range from being in nappies, and summer's in university, and somebody's going to go on a sports tour, or somebody's always sick, or somebody's unhappy, somebody's hungry, somebody needs attention. So you've got these 20 kids, and they all have different needs at different stages of their life. And you're all on a bus together, confined in a bus that is moving towards an end destination. So owning life tech is a little bit like that. You've got like all of these things happening, plus you're on a moving vehicle, plus you've got to navigate the vehicle. Make sure the house doesn't go on fire. If the house does go on fire, make sure, everybody knows how to put fire out, that type of thing. And it's a very different thing when you've got, and especially with a product like ours, that's being shared every single minute. Or most minutes of the day. You've got thousands of users that needs to do something, or that hits a barrier. A lot of the times it's a user error or a digital illiteracy error. And then, the product gets blamed. So there's a lot of moving parts in that. And I mean, not only the tech alone, you've got your staff, you've got lots of different things. You've got the internet connection also at play. So owning life tech is, I would say, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's definitely something that I've come to learn is a growing organism, and you've got to handle it with the utmost respect and care, because and that's what we teach our team as well. Because at the end of whatever your processes and your business and your practice is, on the outside of that is all of your users, and they're interacting with consumers, and you directly impact this bigger ecosystem. It's not just about the client and the subscription that you get from the client. It really is about the end impact of the product. So yeah, owning life tech is definitely stressful. I would say it's not for the faint-hearted, like I said, but it's definitely been a learning curve. I enjoy it. I even find myself with the appetite to build some new tech as well.
Okay, nice one. So, I mean, on that, obviously, you've built this now. I don't know when you started exactly. It must have been, I guess, 2018 or maybe even like around about there. But I think we met in 2019, if I remember, just after you sort of had those first versions and so on. But you recently, ProfileMe recently, and which includes you and your amazing team, you've won some accolades or received some accolades from LinkTank. So, for those of you who don't know, LinkTank does a survey of about 114 different tech solutions in financial services, and they survey a lot of different aspects around that. And ProfileMe received 2 number 1 spots for 2 different things. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that, and sort of how do you think you managed to get that right from because I mean there's so much involved from that point of view. Obviously the product is that great, but yeah, tell us a bit about the accolades and just sort of, or maybe what were 1 or 2 key things you think that helped you get those accolades?
Yeah, thank you, Frata. So we got number 1 spot, and this is advisor rated, community rated. they survey, I think it was 118 or 114 platforms. It was the first year included in this survey. So we got number 1 in client engagement platform or tool. And out of all of those 118 platforms, we also got overall number 1. We rated in support, innovation. Most of those we rated top, which got us to the number 1. And I think that's quite significant. It is a little bit of a David and Goliath story. The other platforms that are surveyed on there are it's like sort of astute. It's huge. It's platforms that's been around for ages with a lot of experience behind them. So it was for us quite a very, very big accolade to get that. But I think for the larger market, it just does show that David and Goliath stories can happen. We did have to work really, really hard. And at the center of what we did there is whatever we lack in any given space, we make up with support. We've got absolutely incredible support, and we've got absolutely incredible culture within ProfileMe. We work off a can-do attitude. If the tech can't do it, we will make a plan to get it done. But we understand that you come to us with a problem that you need solved, and we understand it is the problem that we need to focus on. So I think overall, in terms of that, and I think just the innovation as well, it speaks again back to we do have a tech platform, but there's a lot that we have to do in terms of design thinking and creative thinking to put things together in a way that, it reaches the consumer and has impact. So I would really say that, it was a combination of all of those, human capital and really good systems and processes that got us that one. We're really chuffed about that one. And I just want to say here, shout out to our team. We've got an incredible team, and it wouldn't have been possible without them.
Fantastic. And congratulations once more. But let's go from a high to a low, like we do, right? So has there been any significant setbacks that comes to mind, maybe, Rizanne, that, you like it was going well and suddenly, boom, there goes like, oh, what's happened? Here's a setback. And then also maybe, what has been one of your biggest takeaways from that?
So everyone knows a setback. No, actually a funny story is we had just started out. It was very early 2020 or very late 2019. I was in Cape Town and I had to go present at SFP. I had to go do a demo there. I was very excited. It was one of our very first early big clients. And I was working on everything there. And the night before I had to go, I was just putting everything together, and our app crashed. It totally crashed, and we couldn't get it up. And we were like working through the night to see what. But then it wasn't it was just a very small organization. And working through the night to get this up, and I thought to myself, no, I've got to cancel this meeting. It's not going to happen. I was really in tears. I felt that I was going to quit. The live tech is just not for me. Luckily, I still had my browser windows open, and a good night's sleep, a little bit of a good night's sleep, did wonders. The next morning, I went to this meeting anyway, and I thought, I got nothing to lose. And I went to the meeting, and I actually demoed and presented from my cache from the browsers that were still open. And we, in the end, SFP is still a client of ours, and we've got a very successful relationship, and I'm really grateful for them for the opportunity. But I think the lesson to take out of that is that your client is interested in the problem that you solve. We often think it's the bells and the whistles and the kitchen door that goes open and all of these things, and you want to show this feature and that feature. But in the end, the problem that you solve for the client is usually one thing, and it's quite simple. And if you can communicate that properly to the client, your job is done. And if you can solve that problem, your job is done. So there's been definitely many other things. Like we said earlier, life tech, a lot can go wrong. But I think I really love that story because it does show, it might rain today, but tomorrow the sun will shine again. So just never quit, keep on.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And I think, on that particular story, it's just, just show up anyway. It's incredible what will happen from that. And then I guess afterwards as well, you thought like, oh, that wasn't so bad. In my mind, I thought this is going to be a massive issue and I'm going to lose all my credibility and all that good stuff. And in fact, it's in those imperfect moments when you do show up that you actually win the most trust and the most, the most incredible things can happen. So that's great. Also looking back on your journey, Rizanne, I mean, anything in particular? I mean, you work a lot with financial advisors and financial planners, for example. And I mean, we mentioned earlier, so at Ascend, we're going to talk a lot about marketing as well, because this seems to be an area really lacking for many financial advisors and financial planners. But I mean, what would you say if people are saying like, I'm battling, I can't find clients, so because that seems to be for everything, like finding new clients. And then you'll have two groups of people. You have one group that says, I can't find clients. You've got another group like, I get more referrals than I can handle. But for that group that doesn't have that sorted, or even the ones who do, is that still a strategy to follow, to say, well, my best business is referral business? Like, is that still a thing? So maybe just a couple of ideas, maybe that's at the moment top of mind for you from a marketing point of view for financial advisors and planners.
You've got to understand the problem that you solve. If you understand the problem that you solve, then the narrative is a lot easier, and that route between you and the client, that A to B, is exponentially shorter. If you're putting a whole bunch of products, and David alluded to that as well, services in between that A to B, you're putting in friction. So it is really getting down to understanding the core of the problem that the client has. I think I find a lot of times that, and I experience it, with our business. I would talk about the features, and I would talk about all kinds of high-level stuff where the client simply actually needs one thing. I saw a good analogy of it. It is, it was a meme, and it shows what you think the client wants, and it's a Swiss Army knife with all kinds of bells and whistles to it, and then on the other side, what the client really wants, and it was just a simple knife, just a knife that can cut. So I think with not getting appointments, you have to look at what is exactly the problem that you solve and speak to that problem. Getting referrals. I did a survey on LinkedIn as well recently. Most people were saying that they run off referrals. And there I would say, if that is your business model, make sure that you bring it into your practice, and that you actually have a go-to-market strategy for that business model. You can have a solid plan on how to get social proof, how to get testimonials, and then use them to help get you referrals, and put mechanisms in place that helps every single client become a referral mechanism. It can definitely be a strategy, but you have to still have a marketing plan for it. You still have to have a go-to-market plan for it.
Yeah, because I think the important part around that is that, you've got to make sure that you show up in the right way and consistently, because, if I don't know, like everybody's referring you in their own way, like that must be confusing. So you got to teach clients how to refer. I think that will take the referral experience you have at the moment even to a further next level. So I mean, that's a whole thing that we can chat about on its own, Rizanne. But maybe so thank you for that. In closing, maybe just briefly, what's your vision for ProfileMe going into the future?
No, we will obviously keep innovating. I think at the forefront, when you understand the problem that you solve, you also have to understand how are you going to keep innovating on how you solve this problem. So for us at ProfileMe, that's really a really core focus for us. And I think what's really exciting in the market right now is that we are going beyond websites. ProfileMe at its core is a web app, and we now put the power into everybody's hand, not everybody's hands, but our B2B clients. They can very effortlessly and frictionlessly build a web app that they can use for their clients, they can use for communications, etc. So it's an exciting time. I think at the time when we launched, there was things that didn't quite catch on. And luckily we've come past that. And I see that we now just about at that point, I'll give it a couple of 6 months or so, 7 months, where people really start to understand the power of a web app and a platform that can create these items.
Amazing stuff, Rizanne. Thank you very much. If you want to connect with Rizanne, you can definitely do so on LinkedIn. We've put the links down below, and also some links so you to go and check out ProfileMe. If you haven't talked to Rizanne and her team, get in touch and see how they can help you show up more consistently and just help drive your client engagement. I mean, it's not the number one app for nothing. So go and check that out. Rizanne, thank you very much, and have a fantastic weekend. I really enjoyed chatting to you.
Great. Thank you, Francois, and thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great weekend.
So on that note, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. I'm on my way to go speak at a conference right about now. So now I've got to drive into Cape Town. So blessings to myself. But anyway, on that note, have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper, and continue to raise the bar. I love you so much. And thank you for joining us live every single week. Bye-bye. All right, folks, that's a wrap for this episode of Propulsion. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. Remember to tune in every Friday at 8 a.m. South African time for our live show called Propulsion Live. You can find it at www.propulsion.co.za/live. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, hit that subscribe button or the follow button and share it with your friends, colleagues, and anyone else you think would get something out of it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.